And of course, we get involved. Is well, these guys, you see these blacks. You see, you give black people money and you take them out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of them. They're just so shut up, all right? Because it was these fucking fans that started the shit, and we retaliated. Now, if you reverse the roles, if it was mostly a black crowd and they start throwing shit on the floor at a hockey game, how do you think it's gonna be perceived? I rest my case. Alright, y'all, so while I was on Netflix, I happened to be scrolling and came across a documentary series called Untold, and the first episode is called The Malice in the Palace. And I remember like yesterday when this shit happened. Now at the time, I was kind of getting out of basketball because I'm a New York Knicks fan, and my Knicks haven't been good in, well, like forever. So wasn't as big as a basketball fan as I used to be, but I just happened to be watching that game, and this is just, to those that really don't know, that don't really follow basketball, this was a game that happened between the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers, and the Pacers was whooping that ass. They was destroying the Pistons, and this is in the Pistons' house, so the fans, worse than New York fans, Piston fans are very unforgiving, and they can be pretty savage at times, and not to mention, there was almost little to no security, no police officers at all. So, so when this first happened, the story is that this was a fight between Ron Artest and then Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace went up for a layup. Ron Artest fouled him kind of hard. And then Ben Wallace retaliated and snuffed him. Bah, knocked him back. Then the team started pushing, shoving each other. This happens in basketball all the time. This is nothing new. And Reggie said this in the documentary. But then where shit gets crazy is that as they're trying to defuse the situation, as a team and the staff and everything is trying to defuse the situation, Ron Artest lays on the score table and just lays out, hands behind his head like, yeah, just another day at the office, And as this happens, a can of beer, I think it was a cup of beer, flies out of nowhere, bam, splatters all over him. Artest gets up, runs to the person that he thinks did it, swings on him. Bam. Steven Jackson comes, his teammate, has to have his boy back. Steven Jackson runs in there. So now it's a whole, as they call it, the Malice in the Palace. The players against the fans, but there's more fans than there are players, so shit gets out of hand where fans are actually coming on the floor and swinging on these players, and once again, there's no security, no cops, nothing. Now, when this happened, I remember now, on ESPN, on the news and everything, it was Jermaine O'Neal, Steven Jackson, and Ron Artest, and Ben Wallace and all of them, but it's mostly the Pacers players. They were labeled as thugs. They even changed the dress code where you couldn't dress hip-hop, because at the time, guys had cornrows and the tattoos and the armbands and shit. Basketball was hip-hop back then, and they changed the dress code. Okay, you had to cover up tattoos. And then David Stern, the commissioner of the NBA, all right, laid down Thor's hammer, boom, on all of them. I'm judge, jury, and executioner, all right? There's only one person that needs to make a decision. There's only one jury, and that's me. Lays down the hammer, suspends all of them for 25 to 30 games. I think Artest got the most. I think he got 30 games. And Jermaine O'Neal, he appealed and got 10 games taken off. But the crazy thing is, the Pacers, could they have won the championship that year? That remains to be seen. But they did have a crazy-ass squad. And the team before that, they made Detroit sweat, and Detroit ended up beating the Lakers, so there's a possibility they could have been championship contenders, but personally, I don't want to see him win a championship because I ain't like Reggie Miller. I'm a Knicks fan, okay, so Reggie Miller can kick rocks, but I do respect the man. But this documentary actually gives more context into what happened that night and everybody's perspective, because everything's about perspective, and I know people say, well, that's why you can't believe the media. Yeah, sometimes the media does cook up shit, and they, it's their job to, to make stories look crazier than what they are. That's why, like they say, it's good to do your own research. But, everybody has an opinion on this, but the bottom line is everything was changed by a cup of beer. A cup of MGD changed everything, changed the courses of careers, money being lost, time, everything. This can of beer, this cup of beer, changed the course of history. How crazy is that? If that cup never gets thrown, Artest doesn't go into the crowd, and all this shit doesn't happen. But at the same time, with that being said, if Artest would not have fouled Ben Wallace the way he did, they would have walked away with their victory, done by 15 points. Life would have went on smooth. Okay, so from the documentary, come to find out, it was Ron Artest's teammate that told Ron to foul Ben like that. All right, Steven Jackson was saying, like, look, the game is over with. I'm guarding Ben. I'm going to let him go. I'm not going to foul him. I'm going to leave him alone. Ben goes to the basket. Ron comes, boom, hits him with the forearm. Ben retaliates, and everything pops off from there. So Ron Artest kind of comes across as the bad guy here, but you really can't hate the guy because, A, you know what I'm saying, he's just such a colorful personality. I mean, it's impossible to hate the guy. And B, he owned what he did. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, he owned what he did. He even said, like, listen, I was a coward. Because after all that shit went down, he left. So after Steven Jackson and all his teammates had his back, including Jermaine O'Neal, they all had his back. And then he bounces on him. He goes bye-bye and goes to the Lakers and wins a championship with Kobe. You know, and the most serious guy on the team at the time, Jermaine O'Neal, he was positioned to be the best player in the world. Like, he was like on the status of a Kobe or Dwayne Wade. You know, Jermaine O'Neal was that guy, and shit was never the same for him after that. I mean, he still went on to play, but he was never the same player. You know, after that, injuries plagued him, and, you know, he just never lived up to his full potential, and it started all that night. But Ron Artest went on to win a championship with the Lakers, and so you can understand his teammates felt a certain way about that. Especially because Steven Jackson had his back the whole time. Steven Jackson was like, look, man, when I saw Ron go up into the crowd and duff that guy out, and then another guy was coming after Ron, yo, Steven handled that. You know what I'm saying? He handled that. So for him to leave him like that, leave him with his dick in his hand, yeah, that was kind of foul. And Ron knew that. You know, he couldn't even celebrate his Lakers victory without acknowledging that was fucked up what he did by leaving them. You know what I'm saying? So this documentary puts a lot of shit in perspective, and it just adds more context to what happened. You know what I'm saying? More than what was told at the time was that these were just thugs. These are troublemakers. These are, you know, this is part of how negative rap is in the black community. No fathers in the home. You know, the typical cliche shit they say about black people, how we're out of control, how we're animals and all that shit. But that fight wasn't started by the players. It was the fans that did that shit, you know, and you got to blame management, I mean, or the owners of the Palace, because there should have been security, there should have been police officers there to defuse the situation. And what was a fucked up thing, even though I don't like Reggie Miller, but I thought it was fucked up how when all that shit was going down, Reggie was trying to get Ron Artest out of there, and when police did show up, they didn't know who Reggie Miller was. You know, Reggie Miller, come on, man. Like, even though I don't care for the guy, but come on, everybody knows Reggie Miller, man. He's one of the most famous players in the world, you know what I'm saying? And they came up and ready to pepper spray him. Wouldn't that be some shit? The police pepper spray Reggie Miller. How long have I been going here? I'm about to wrap this shit up, yo. I feel like I've been rambling. So, yeah, a lot is to blame for that night. But Jermaine O'Neal, at the end of the day, was defending his teammates. He was, you know, he was defending himself. And he got fucked out of this whole deal and lost a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? And that just goes to show sometimes life ain't fair, you know what I'm saying? Like, people do some crazy, foul, fucked up shit, and they seem like they end up on top, you know what I mean? It seems like they end up doing better than the person that they fucked over, you know? And you always want to think, you know, karma's gonna get them, and yeah, karma didn't get Artest. But I guess that's because he did own it, he did acknowledge that it was foul what he did, and, you know, he's not even worthy to be in a presence, you know, that's what he said, so... Anyways, y'all, I've been rambling on. Yeah, I'm going on past 10 minutes now. This is a good watch. I recommend watching, even though I spoiled all of it, but fuck it, you know, watch it anyway. So yeah, it's called Untold, The Malice in the Palace. All right, this is one of the craziest situations ever in basketball. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you know, we get involved as, well, these guys, you see these blacks. You see, you give black people money, and you take them out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of them. They're just so, shut up. All right? Because it was these fucking fans that started the shit, and we retaliated. Now, if you reverse the roles, if it was mostly a black crowd, and they start throwing shit on the floor at a hockey game, how do you think it's going to be perceived? I'll rest my case. If you like and did this content, hit that like and subscribe, notification bell in the corner. Thank you all for watching. This is Rashad G signing out. See you in the next video.